So, I don't really do chapter reviews or analyses for any series since I'm more of a long-form analysis kind of guy, but this latest MHA chapter is definitely an exception. It is by far the most important chapter in the entire series, just in terms of how utterly game-changing it is. From this point on, the story is irrevocably different to a degree that has not been seen before in this series. Now, a lot has happened in this chapter, so I want to split this up into two sections. First, I'm going to go over the pro heroes and what they are going to do, how society's doing, and then I want to talk about what the fuck is going on with Deku, because just that last panel has so many details in it that I want to go over. But first, pro hero time. As far as the higher up pros are concerned, the cat's out of the bag. Best Jeanist and Hawks should know the whole deal about One For All now, and I assume that Endeavor is going to be, or has already been let in on it. It wouldn't really make sense for the secret to be kept from him if other top heroes know it. So, now that the other pros have this information, it's all a question of what they do with it and what they do about the situation, because they certainly are not simply going to let Shigaraki go after One For All. That would be ridiculous. They now have to coordinate around Deku, which isn't good since he kinda just left. Anyway, as we see in the press conference, they are busy doing damage control, plus they are already making plans to keep certain people safe. However, these are only preventative measures, and as we see other injured pros healing up, it gives the sense that they are probably not going to be comfortable just doing damage control and defense. They are going to want to go for another offensive move because that is the only proactive option they have. At the end of Endeavor's press conference, it is even mentioned that all they really can do to recreate the sense of security is to take down those villains, such as Gigantomachia. Because if someone like Gigantomachia goes unpunished by the law, then society will continue to feel unsafe. That is unavoidable. And they can't afford to just sit around and wait for the next attack. The hero system has always been incredibly reactive to crime, but now that things have gotten this bad, a proactive effort is the only logical way to go about this. This is also the case because Shigaraki needs to rest up. Badly. It's hard to say exactly how this will go, but basically both sides, heroes and villains, are in their own recovery process. The heroes need to heal and rest while also dealing with everything they lost, and the same can be said for the villains. It is just hard to say who will attack who first because both sides are missing key resources for their operations. I will say though that the hero side is much more damaged though because they have to deal with both villains and the lack of social support. But that's not why you're watching this video, right? You're here for Deku and his insane decision to leave UA High. This decision is why the chapter is so big. Deku single-handedly took the academia out of My Hero Academia, and we only have 2 panels to communicate everything we can know from this. So let's break down all the details here. For one, and this is absolutely huge, we got a small time skip. At least a few days passed since the previous chapter, and we are now at an unspecified day in April. Now this is important because the last chapter ended on a cliffhanger. We were about to see a conversation involving the second and third users of One For All, but we were specifically not shown this. Nor were we shown Deku making the decision to leave, his visit to Gran Torino where he was either given or took the cape, his writing the notes to his classmates, or him actually leaving the hospital. There is just so much that is purposefully left in the dark for us. We have absolutely no idea what the second or third user even said to him, if anything. We don't know if they told him what their quirks are, gave him some insane revelation, or just told Deku to fuck off. Whatever it is, Horikoshi deemed it way too important to show us just yet. But whatever, we don't know a lot, but we have these last panels full of things to analyze. For one, him being in his hero costume and presumably about to face a villain means he is probably going down the Vigilante route for now. Plus, he has his backpack with him and he lived at the dorms where his mom also now lives, so he has nowhere to go, leaving Deku effectively homeless for the time being. There's also a lot of other interesting stuff about his costume. It's all torn up and he doesn't have his Air Force gloves since they got messed up too, meaning he got zero maintenance on his hero hero costume since the war. He also has these bandages on his arms from when he absolutely destroyed them in his fight with Shigaraki. I'm thinking this probably means that Deku does have some long-term or even permanent damage to his arms. I don't think they are completely useless though. Remember, the doctor a long time ago did say that with 2 or 3 more full power punches, he will lose the use of his arms, but this was also when Deku's max continuous limit was 5%. His body is much tougher than it used to be, so the number of full power smashes he used should not be enough to completely debilitate him. We can confirm this since he wrote multiple handwritten notes to his classmates before he left. Now, I have seen some people mention that his bandages are not actually bandages, and are instead some variation of the full gauntlets from the first MHA movie. I can see where people get this from a design perspective, but I honestly doubt it. He wasn't even able to get his costume fixed, and there is no evidence of Melissa being anywhere in Japan at the time, so these are most likely just bandages. Sorry to disappoint, guys. Hey everybody, so this is post-editing Zenith here. So when I first made this recording, I was not aware of this other theory about the chapter that was going around, and I thought I should go over it real quick. So in the last panel, you see Deku standing on this gargoyle, and a lot of people are saying it looks similar to the gargoyles on the Chrysler building, which might indicate that Deku is in America and somehow went there, which would make sense if he was trying to keep everyone away from Shigaraki and All for One. It's not confirmed though, and we know that this is supposed to reference that famous panel of Batman, so it could just be a coincidence, no confirmation. We don't really know. I just thought I'd get it out there. It doesn't really completely invalidate anything I've said in this video, but it might throw some doubt on it, so I thought I should at least talk about it. Alright, back with the normal recording though. So that's the situation as far as we know it, but what happens now? Well, for one, Deku is on a mission. He's probably going to train his quirks, and I would not be surprised if the villains that escape Tartarus end up being his, well, to put it lightly, sparring partners in testing those out. That's probably why we got so much focus on the prison breaks and who broke out right before we got the Vigilante Deku plotline. He is probably going to run into some of these people. He is at least going to run into Muscular. Maybe Stain or Chisaki, but those aren't really good combat opponents for him, and I don't think those are guaranteed for this specific plot point. But maybe, we'll see what Horikoshi has planned. All we know is that Deku is on the run, he is going to defeat some people along the way, and he wants to find Shigaraki to try and save him. That's the best bet we can make right now. Another important thing is I do think that this decision of Deku's is going to end up going poorly, or at least it's going to be the wrong decision. This makes sense thematically, as in the fight with Shigaraki, Deku was taking it upon himself to be the one to beat him. That's because he thinks of One for All as a special power meant for this fight, but that was All Might's mistake. All Might made himself the sole pillar of society and took all the responsibility onto himself. This ended up being a horrible mistake because society was not prepared when he had to retire, leaving them without a pillar to rely on. Now Deku is making a similar mistake, not realizing how much he needs everyone in an effort to protect them. This also ties into the constant theme of Deku's character, where all of his accomplishments are built on the support of others. Now he is forsaking that support for their sake, and it just makes sense for this to end up being a bad decision. This also leans into what I think is going to happen next. I do think that Ochako is going to take it upon herself to save Deku from his self-destructive path. After all, it does use an extra big panel just to showcase her reaction to the letter that Deku left. And this is good for Ochako's character because her character has been building up to be this hero that saves heroes, to be the person who gives support to those who give their everything for others. And Deku right now is the epitome of this self-sacrificial behavior. So I do think she is going to be the one that ends up bringing him back to UA when Deku either ends up failing in his efforts or comes close to failing, or makes some kind of success but at an important cost. Although, regardless of what happens, he will be a better and stronger person by the end of it. At least, these are all my predictions. You know, he's gonna beat up some villains along the way that we've seen before, or some new ones that were brought up in the Prison Break arc. He's going to train his quirks, he's going to learn more about One For All, maybe. And then he's going to get brought back by some kind of climactic event, and it's going to involve Ochako. These are my overall predictions. But really, let me know what you guys think. What did you think of the chapter? Where do you think this is going? Hell, how long does this series even have left? Like, 100 chapters? 200? Some people think it's only halfway over. It really depends, and I really want to hear what you have to say on this. So, thanks for stopping by, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you around again.